everyone, welcome to ECDC Majlis Arts and Science College, Puramannur. I am Nusrat, Assistant Professor, PG Department of English. Today we are going to have a discussion on the third chapter in the first module of the paper Signatures, which is prescribed for the third semester BA BSc students of Calicut University. The chapter name is I Stand With You Against the Disorder, written by Janet Armstrong. It is included in the module Autobiographical Writings and Memoirs. After watching this video, the learner will be able to enhance intellectual ability and aesthetic sensibility. It also helps to understand how personal narratives intersect with the larger social realities. First of all, let's have a discussion on the writer Janet Armstrong. Janet Armstrong is a Canadian author, educator, artist and indigenous civil rights activist. She was born in 1948 on the Okanagan Reserve in British Columbia. She is the first Native woman novelist from Canada. She is referred to as an educator and protector of the indigenous people. Who is indigenous people? Indigenous peoples are inheritors and practitioners of unique cultures and ways of relating to people and the environment. Janet Armstrong's main objective in writing was to educate young people about native culture and history. She tried to educate them and change the deep-rooted prejudices and wrong ideas connected with the Aboriginal people. She condemns the Western philosophers and their educational objectives. She also has an optimistic stance and communicates it to the people. According to her, a democracy should respect and protect any individual's right. So, these are all about Janet Armstrong. Then, let's know the notable works of Janet Armstrong. She began her literary career by writing a poem on John F. Kennedy. She wrote two novels. One is Slash in 1985. The other one is Whispering in Shadows, written in 2000. Other works include Breath Tracks, written in 1991, All My Relations, an anthology of contemporary Canadian native fiction. Then, let's know about the chapter. I Stand With You Against the Disorder. I Stand With You Against the Disorder is an autobiographical article in Yes magazine posted by Janet Armstrong on November 8, 2005. This article was adapted from Paradigm Wars, Indigenous Peoples' Resistance to Economic Globalization, edited by Jerry Mantor and Victoria Thowley-Coppers. In this article, Armstrong points out the destructive effects of global economy. It's about the Okanagan people, a Native American people from the Canadian province of British. Okanagan Valley is one of the warmest regions in all of Canada. It is said that the place is known for its wineries and fruit orchards. The title of the chapter is very significant. It means that she is ready to fight against all the injustices faced by the indigenous people. Then let's move on to the chapter. Armstrong starts this article with a description about her birthplace, Okanagan. In the initial 1 to 3 paragraphs, the writer introduces her native place to the reader and she also gives us her identity. She says that Okanagan is a very dry and hot place with two rocky mountain ranges, the Cascades Mountains on one side and Silkicks on the other side. These are the two rocky mountain ranges described in this article, the Cascades and the Silkicks. Then she talks about the river Columbia, the main river that flows through this land. Kettle River is the one tributary of Columbia River. Then she gives us her identity by saying that her mother is a river Indian. River Indians are tribal people. They are the Kettle River people, and these people are in charge of the fisheries in the northern parts of the Columbia River system. Her father's people are mountain people who were hunters. She got her name from her great grandmother from the father's side of the family. Then, why is this identity important? We know that identity is important to every individual. Here, Armstrong says that her identity is important to her because it is connected to expectations as well, and it tells others what her responsibilities are, what her goal is, what must she carry, what to project, what she teaches and think about, and what she must do and what she can't do. Then, who is an Okanagan? She says about Okanagan culture. She brings out the very distinctive features of the Okanagan identity, stating that it is very difficult to replicate in English. It is very difficult to properly express in the foreign language. Then she is describing the Okanagan people. Who are those people? She says that the Okanagan people are the ones who are dream and land together. That is the definition that she gives to Okanagan people. She says that it is their original identity. We are the living, dreaming earth pieces. She says that dream is the closest word for Okanagan. But it does not mean dream. It means, as she says, the unseen part of our existence as human beings. So, it may be the mind, spirit and intellect. She is telling that it cannot be replicated into English. So, when she states that it cannot be replicated in English, she is trying to say that the culture is way beyond the physical aspects that we see and way beyond what another language can tell us. So, she says they are dream, memory and imagination. Then she uses an analogy. An analogy means comparison. So, another part of word means that if you take a number of strands of hair or twine, place them together and then rub your hands and bind them together, they become one strand. Here she gives the importance of being united or the quality they have or the Okanagan community has. So, strands of hair or twine bind together to make it one strong strand. That is the comparison actually she wants to make. Here she describes the importance of unity being tied into and part of everything else. So, this is the dream part of them forming their community. And then she tries to explain what makes an individual. She says that each individual has four main capacities operating together. First one is the physical self, then the emotional self, and then the thinking or intellectual self, and last one is the spiritual self. These four selves join each individual to the rest of the creation. She says each capacity is important and each capacity has equal weightage. One is not above the other. Then let us see all the capacities. In the text, she explains the three selves. The spiritual self she does not explain, but we can understand that the spiritual self is the part of all this. The physical self or the land dreaming capacity is referring to the body. The body is considered sacred by the Okanagans. It is considered the very core of every human being. The Okanagan teach that the body is earth itself. Their flesh, blood, and bonds are earth body. They consider it as the great gift of existence. She says the word for body means the land dreaming capacity. The second one is the emotional self. The emotional self in Okanagan language translates as the heart. This is the capacity to form bonds. So that capacity to bond is created by the emotional self. So, heart is the closest word for emotional self. Then the third self, she explains, is the thinking or intellectual self. The thinking and intellectual self has another name in Okanagan. Janet Armstrong says that the Okanagan word for thinking, logic and storage of information or memory is difficult to translate into English. Then she says that thinking intellectual self is the spark that ignites. That is the closest word she gives to thinking intellectual capacity. Then she goes to talk about Okanagan educational practices. It means the unique nature of educational practices. She says that the traditional Okanagan education gives huge emphasis on discipline. Education helps one to engage beyond automatic response capacity. Automatic response capacity means impulsive or instinctive behavior. So, education or discipline, we learn to control our impulses and our instinctive responses. She sums up the importance of education by saying that a fire that is not controlled can destroy. What she means that it is just as fire can both destroy and preserve. Human capacities are also capable of destruction and also construction. In the last two paragraphs, the writer brings out the importance of family, community and relationships of the Okanagan. She says about the sense of belongings, especially about the family and the community. She also says no person is born isolated. The Okanagan teaches that each person is born into a family and community. The actions of individual affect both family and community. Without a family and community, one falls apart. In the last two paragraphs, the writer brings out the importance of family, community and relationships of the Okanagan. The Okanagan refers to the relationship to others by a word that means our one skin. It means they share not only place, but there is a physical tie among the people. It also connects them to the past generations and generation to come. They are tied together. Their most serious teaching is that community comes first and then ourselves as individual. She concludes by saying that without community and family, we are not human. I stop my presentation here. Remember, this presentation is not replacement for your textbook. Kindly read your textbook as many number of times as you can. Thank you all.